Those lights are...
Imagine the sheer terror of chasing a spree shooter and not knowing where he is. Then, imagine the sheer terror of learning your son has just killed your other son. This is 15-year-old Austin Thompson. In October 2022, he went on a killing spree that started with his own brother. What drove Austin to commit the unthinkable? And were there any warning signs that his friends or family ignored? Let's explore the tragic story of Austin Thompson and the 2022 Raleigh shooting. Today's story begins, ironically, in one of the safest towns in the United States, Raleigh, North Carolina. Raleigh is a town of 500,000 people, growing at a fast rate as STEM companies are opening up and bringing a lot of work opportunities to people in the area. Raleigh is also a popular town for families. It has amazing schools, big parks, and perhaps most importantly, a very low crime rate, especially when it comes to violent crimes and murder. Raleigh is 43% safer than any other US city, and a staggering 72% safer than other North Carolina cities. After all, you'd want your kids safe wherever you're living, right? That's what the Thompson family thought too. Sadly, they didn't realize the danger was under their rooftop. At a first glance, Alan and Elise Thompson had a perfectly normal family. They'd been married for about 2 decades and they had 2 sons, only 1 year apart from each other, James and Austin. James, the slightly older brother, was a happy-go-lucky guy with a lot of friends. His biggest passions were video games and deep-sea fishing. He loved nature and he loved his family. But the neighbors saw his little brother in a different light. Once, a neighbor reported seeing Austin walking the streets by himself with his book bag at 5 a.m. The school bus left at 7, so what was he doing at that time ready for school outside his home? The general opinion was Austin was a little quiet and maybe a bit odd. He kept to himself. Perhaps he didn't have a good relationship with his family. Why else would he be trolling the streets 2 hours before the already early school bus departure time? Even if he was a morning person, Austin could get some workout done or do something inside of his house until 7 a.m. Anyway, I digress, but something was wrong with Austin, and sadly, his family had no clue. It was 5:09 p.m. on October 13th, 2022, when the emergency services received a worrying call from the Hedingham area in Raleigh. The caller claimed they'd seen a young teenage boy shooting at people in the neighborhood close to the golf course. As the dispatcher was trying to get in contact with the police, more calls started pouring in. Austin had armed himself with a shotgun, a handgun, and a hunting knife. He started his murderous rampage at home and continued down his street, stopping at his first neighbor, 52-year-old Nicole Connors. At that time, Nicole was home with her best friend, 59-year-old Lynn Gardner. Well, Lynn was days away from celebrating her 60th birthday. And this was exactly what she and Nicole were doing that day, an early birthday brunch at the Red Lobster. Nicole and Lynn were standing in Nicole's driveway, chatting away, before Lynn was supposed to take off. But their plans were cut short in the most awful way. That afternoon, Austin surprised the pair with his shotgun. Nicole lost her life immediately, and Lynn barely survived after being shot several times. She would be in critical condition for 6 months in the hospital.
I can tell you that 59-year-old woman is turning 60 tomorrow. It's her birthday tomorrow, but she is here fighting for her life, according to police.
Sadly, Nicole's dog, Sammy, was also shot and killed by Austin. A second 911 call came in.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. What's the location of your emergency?
I was just, Mom and I are at home and we heard some shots outside, and I looked out my window and there's the neighbor is on the ground, I think.
What's the address?
My address is the Haley Way.
Wait, what is it?
The Haley Way. It's in Hedingham.
Okay, is he on Osprey Cove? Because I see a call for on Osprey Cove. You're on Osprey Cove, or is he on something?
She's on the corner. No, it's the Haley Way. And she's laying on the floor of the bush. On the bush. Is somebody on the porch too? There's 2 people. There's somebody laying by the bush, and there's somebody laying on the porch. I didn't see the person on the porch.
No one is ever prepared for seeing such a gruesome scene.
Oh my gosh, it's two people.
Did you see anybody running or shooting or anything?
No, we just heard it. We heard the shots and we heard them screaming.
Nicole's husband, Tracy, missed the attack by a few minutes. He'd missed Lynn's little birthday get-together because of work, and he'd stopped to get a light bulb for the porch on his way home. Had he not stopped for the light bulb, he probably would have lost his life too. It's hard to imagine the horror of driving home to a crime scene. In the blink of an eye, Tracy lost his wife and his dog.
Just walking in the days, to everything, nothing seems real, like, just a kind person. She was a good person. She didn't deserve anything like this.
Nicole had left her career early to care for her mother full-time after she'd suffered a stroke. She'd married Tracy 5 years before, and they were very, very happy together. Nicole would be the oldest victim that day. Next, Austin made his way to Osprey Cove Drive, where he encountered 29-year-old Gabriel Torres. Gabriel was working as a police officer, but at that time he was off duty. He was sitting in his car getting ready for his shift. Sadly, he and Austin made eye contact, and that was enough for Austin to shoot him fatally.
911, what's the location of your emergency?
Hey, Osprey Cove Drive!
Osprey Cove Drive?
And that white girl just came through with a shotgun and shot my buddy! Get here ASAP!
Yes, sir. We're going to go ahead and get some help out there. You said he's been shot?
Yeah!
You
Yeah!
said it was with a shotgun?
Yeah!
What kind of vehicle was he in?
3036 up. He was walking with camera on. He went back to the new end of the trail.
All right, we're getting everyone out there as quick as we can.
Osprey Cove, it's an officer. He works for Apple. He works for y'all.
You said it's an officer?
Yeah, it's an officer. Hurry up, please. It's an officer. We need to go out here ASAP.
We're getting officers out there as quick as we can. What is he wearing?
In a white car.
You said he's in a white car. What is he wearing?
Yeah. It's in a cul-de-sac. Please.
The dispatcher couldn't rush the police or the emergency services. They would be there in a few minutes. So he used these minutes to ask Gabriel's friend any details he could remember about the killer.
Listen to me. What kind of clothing is he wearing?
The shooter? He's on camo.
Sir.
The shooter
He's
has
wearing
on all camo. He's on camo.
Is he white, black, Hispanic, or Asian?
He looks like he's like 16. Sure, he was about probably...
Okay, we're getting help out there right now, okay? Are you with the person who's been shot?
Yeah.
Did you say the attacker's still nearby?
Yeah, he's on the Neuse River Trail. Hey, just take the baby in the house.
Just a moment.
And I'm camo with a shotgun.
How many people have been shot?
One officer.
Okay.
One officer was shot.
An officer was shot?
Yeah, he's an off-duty cop. I keep trying to say he works for Raleigh. Yeah, he just walked right through and shot him. Why shot him for no reason?
Sadly, help came 1 minute too late for Gabriel.
Is the victim responding normally?
No.
Is he with Raleigh Police, sir? You said he's with Raleigh Police?
No, he's with oh my God.
Gabriel joined the Marine Corps in 2016, right after he'd finished high school. 2 years later, he married his longtime girlfriend, Jasmine, and the two had a baby daughter together. The two were rock solid. Even with all of Gabriel's constant military deployments, the family was tightly knit and ready for anything.
We loved each other with towns and cities between us. It was a challenge it was, but we got through it.
It was after the birth of his daughter that Gabriel chose a steadier job as a Raleigh police officer. Who would have thought that he would die off duty in one of the safest American cities?
My Gabriel. We were no strangers of distance. Our story revolved around distance. Every chapter of our lives together brought us distance. But this distance, this new distance, this one I will struggle with for the rest of my life.
As if he hadn't already caused enough suffering, Austin continued his murderous rampage down the River Greenway Trail. This is exceptionally cruel, considering the trail was a well-known opportunity to walk and jog and relax. Next, Austin encountered 34-year-old Mary Marshall, who was out walking her dog, Scruff. Mary had already heard the gunshots coming from Osprey Cove Drive and had left her fiance a message. "I'm walking the dog, he's slipped his collar. I'm hearing these gunshots. Can you meet me back home as soon as you can?" Heartbreakingly, Mary never made it home. She was shot point blank on the trail. Little Scruff was able to run away. We often think of the impact losing a loved one has on a human, but what about a dog who's known you and loved you his whole life? Mary had served in the Navy, but her and her fiance Rob had moved to Raleigh with plans to get married at the end of the month, just 2 weeks after Mary's death. Instead of a wedding, Mary got a memorial.
Mary laughed, you couldn't miss it. You heard it on the other side of the house. And her laugh was infectious. It made everybody else laugh too.
It was a huge memorial. Almost all of the wedding guests arrived, and since Mary was a Navy veteran, so did many of her colleagues.
Mary was, and still is, a beacon of light all around us. Whether she was screaming from a spider or cackling because she successfully scared someone, Mary did everything with gusto. So, I leave you with this today. Don't let Mary down. When you're sad, cry. When you're happy or excited, do your best to Mary cackle. And when you need to give it to someone straight, do so with the boldness that only Mary could pull off.
But Austin wasn't done yet. 49-year-old Susan Carnance was a mother of 3 and a school psychologist. That afternoon, she was jogging down the trail when she encountered Austin. She was listening to music, unaware several people had already been killed. Within a few seconds, she saw Austin and wondered what the heck was going on and died. The police were finally catching on to what was truly happening. Several 911 calls had poured in and the officers were dispatched to the area ASAP, but not as fast as they should have been. The officers would go on to find the lifeless bodies of Susan, Mary, Gabriel, Nicole, and James in this order. Indeed, before going on his spree of killing, Austin began by stabbing his own brother. 16-year-old James died, afraid and confused. What had he ever done to his little brother to deserve such a fate? After killing 5 people, Austin ran toward the Northern Wake Expressway, about 2 miles away from the trail. While the officers were setting up crime scenes and the paramedics were trying to save lives, other officers were struggling to find Austin. It was their police dogs that sniffed him down to a barn 2 hours after the shootings. But Austin wanted to die in a police shootout. This is the body cam of Officer Casey Joseph Carr.
Are we anywhere near Old Mill Bernie?
Yeah.
Casey and his partners were where the dogs had tracked Austin to, but there was no trace of Austin. They just had to bide their time and not attract a lot of attention.
Shit!
Got gunshots in the woods, guys. Cover!
Easy!
In the midst of it all, Casey was also shot.
Those lights.
It's shocking to see the body cam fall to the ground and realize what this means. Imagine the pain, fear, and panic of being an officer on duty, engaged in a shootout with a homicidal maniac. Luckily, Casey was okay. He was discharged from the hospital later that day, but so many others weren't. Austin was shot badly during the shootout and was taken to the hospital in critical condition. One of the officer's bullets had made it into his head. Miraculously, Austin survived the ordeal. After spending months in the hospital, he was released to a rehab center, and afterward, he was transferred to jail. Imagine what this did to the Raleigh community.
Today we're sad, we're angry, and we want to know the answers to all the questions. No neighborhood, no parent, no child, no grandparent. No one should feel this fear in their communities.
The saddest part, Austin's parents never saw this coming, and he never got any help. They commented, "Words cannot begin to describe our anguish and sorrow. Our son Austin inflicted immeasurable pain on the Raleigh community, and we are overcome with grief for the innocent lives lost. We pray for the families and loved ones of Nicole Connors, Susan Carnatz, Mary Marshall, and Raleigh police officer Gabriel Torres. We mourn for their loss and for the loss of our son, James. Our family will continue to cooperate with law enforcement officials and do whatever we can to help them understand why and how this happened." There were never any indications or warning signs that Austin was capable of doing anything like this. To this day, the motive of Austin's murders remains unknown. All we have are expert opinions on why the grand majority of mass shooters are young men in their teens or early 20s.
Law enforcement officials and experts cite mental health issues, bullying, social media, and access to gun, all known factors. But the fact is that since 2018, 6 of the 9 deadliest mass shootings in the United States were perpetrated by young people 21 and under.
In January 2023, Lynn Gardner made headlines as she was finally released from the hospital.
After nearly 100 days in the hospital, Lynn Gardner, one of 2 surviving victims of the Raleigh mass shooting, is being released from the hospital.
But her trauma is far from over. She now walks with a cane. She missed her 60th birthday. She lost her best friend, and she will forever remember that horrifying day. Dozens of other people will live with deep trauma for the rest of their lives because of Austin. His senseless act left families without loved ones, forever heartbroken and confused.
There are several families in our community waking up this morning without their loved ones.
So as the world will forget about Austin, let us use this video to remember all of those he took from the world. Hey, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this case and other cases you want me to cover. Before you go, don't forget, like, subscribe, and click that tiny bell so you never miss an episode. See you next time.